What is up, everybody? Jabba the Griffin here. We have a round 4 match. We're getting into the nitty gritty of the CALLOUS Invitational Tour. This is a winner's bracket match. We got Ugly Duckling, the realist UD, versus Manaphy. Mana having a really good run after he had a really good Advanced Cup run where he lost to Tama in the finals. That was pretty huge. UD just took out Linear last round, so this is a heavyweight match right here. This one's going to be a good one. Saddle up. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't seen spoilers. I'm ready to dive in, see what happens. I'm excited. Been talking and playing with UD lately. Well, inadvertently playing on the ladder, but talking to him. I think this is going to be a really good set, and I think both players are really at their best right now. So let's jump into this one and see what happens. Right off the bat, we got Snorlax versus Vaporeon, not the most conventional lead matchup. It's not your Zapdos T-Tar kind of setup. From my perspective, at least, UD has the advantage. He can just start body slamming off the bat, and Mana will probably have to switch out, but highly dependent on this set, I guess. But I'm not sure what kind of lead Vappy outside of acid armor passing is really gonna do against a Lax. So let's dive in. And that's exactly what. Oh, he's double edge. CB double edge is what I'm assuming it from that damage. That's pretty huge. And then great double by Mana. Let's slow this down. I didn't mean to make it that far. That was a really good double. Because obviously, if UD just presses double edge again right there, that Vaporeon is heftily chunked. The Celebi setting up will now break that sub before the Vappy passes it off, assuming that's a sub pass Vappy. That could be super, or it roars out. From what I've seen UD run a lot of CM Celebi Leech Seed with just mono grass. So that would be interesting if that's what he's running, but I guess we'll see as this goes on. Clearly a pretty unconventional team from UD, assuming that it's not a team that somebody already made. Forgiveness if that's it. I don't know all the teams, but it seems pretty cool. The lead Snorlax. It does look like that is Super. So it does look like a good matchup for Super, but if this is Pursuit and it's not, which is good for UD, because if it is, you want to keep that around. When you have one of these good super matchups, you don't want it to go down easily. UD gets a really good self-destruct off against the Heracross, something that so far looks like it would give him issues. Arrow comes in and UD nails the swap into the Claydol, which Rock Slide Claydol, which is not something. I'm gonna slow this down a little bit even more, because this game is just flying by and it's hard to really keep up with what's going on. Rock Slide Claydol is not something I've seen, and I can't even remember the last time. But it does chip the Arrow, but who knows if that'll be good enough. Suicune is not taking any damage yet, and he's gonna need that. But at the same time, the Vaporeon is gonna be a little tough to kill. That's a pretty big HP grass right there. Actually, considering the squads right now, that is a Salac. That's going to be... No, that won't be an issue. You can just go to the Suicune to finish that off. The end of this team is actually really good for this Celebi. I think Mana is actually going to struggle a lot if UD plays this correctly. And I think it's so the Endeavor's gonna come in, obviously, and he'll Ice Beam or something. Just obviously not Surf because there's no reason to, or he does anyway. He might be Mono Surf. There, it's impossible to tell. Uh, it's always a possibility. But on the off chance, he goes on the Vaporeon. Um, this actually could be an issue if this just comes out double edging. If this last by UD just actually can't deal with Aerodactyl, then that's just game, which is unfortunate because UD was actually in a really good spot. Okay, no, he's fine. It looks like he should be fine. I almost wonder here. I'm gonna pause it real quick because Mana needs this arrow, and so he might look to sack like the Vappy here. And if by sack I mean also he could just straight up go into counter, but he knows he needs this because he just double edges through both of these. I wonder if there's a world if you're UD if you take this double to Celebi. Because I don't know if Mana can risk the arrow. I mean, obviously he can if he assumes that UD's going to double. But I think if I'm UD, I think the only way I can win is if I go to Celebi right here. So I think I double to Celebi and hope that he goes Vaporeon. But let's see how UD did it. Oh, he went to T-Tar, which was probably the better play. And UD actually just DDs up. And after everything I said, that's actually well, actually he's fine because this is solo pump. So since he's DD and this is only pump, I mean, I guess it could come out and roar. But then odds are but then he can start rock sliding. I don't know because this is actually a very interesting end game, and I don't think there's any right solution to any move you can make. And then there's also the thing, this could be EV so that EQ doesn't kill. Since it's DD, it's a tough one. It's close. UD also has a possible play here. No, Claydol's not a play because then you just DD. Well, it depends on what the set is. If it has a move to hit Claydol. Yeah, this is like I'm going over a lot here, but this is really tough. And I think each player has actually a lot of viable moves going into the situation. Mana obviously knows his EV set. So if he can't take an EQ, then he likely just loses because he can't go into the Vaporeon here to take the EQ. So if this T-Tar can't take an EQ, then it's just probably game. It can, and then I guess we'll see if the slide kills. It does, yeah. And that's the danger of that situation. That didn't even come close. And that's why I was thinking maybe Claydol is the play there. Because you need this Mence. But this, like I said, this also has DD. So it can actually just DD on the Claydol if it can kill the Claydol through. So I'm still wondering if the double to Celebi was the correct play. Because after the Giga Drain chunks this, it needs HP Bug. I don't know what Giga Drain would heal back up to. Enough to survive a Rock Slide, probably. Or at very least, you could end it with Claydol. I don't know. This is a really intricate end game. And I don't think UD played it perfectly. I think UD had an out. Maybe double to Claydol if you have Boom. Because then you can EQ the T-Tar. And then force it to have HP Bug. I don't know. It's what I'm going over a lot right here, but I guess at the end of the day, it's irrelevant. If this does have HP Bug, then it wins anyway. If it doesn't, then I think UD And I guess UD has to play towards those outs. You're in a precarious position. This is DD tar. That's the only move it's shown. So you have to kind of play to hope it's not HP bug. Yeah, I just don't think DD on that one turn was the play. I think doubling to either boom here. You know what? If you go here, you're in a good spot because you can boom on the Vaporeon, or you can also boom on this, which maybe puts that in Giga Drain range. And then you can just click Giga Drain, and then he's forced to go to Arrow, and then he's forced to HP Fly, and then you DD. I think that might have been the play. Now I'm thinking about it. I think that works out the best. Doubling to Claydol. And this is Monday morning quarterback. We're talking about this after the game's already over. I know I paused it and the game's not over, but the game is over. Arrow just wins from here. Maybe we'll see actually if it's HP bug going forward. Probably not, no, because this just comes in and Giga Drains. And then this finishes off with Hidden Power flying against both these. We can speed it up a little bit. Oh, it's Liachi too. That's fun. We've been seeing that a little bit. But I think that was actually the play. And that's still dependent on calcs. Or you can actually come and boom and then DD again. No, because then he just goes to Vaporeon and roars. Yeah, so I think and this is wholly dependent on calcs, whether this Claydol boom, which considering it's Rock Slide means maybe it has a little physical investment. If this boom plus this Giga Drain kills the T-Tar, then you force the Arrow to come in and HP Grass or HP Flying the Celebi. Then the T-Tar comes in, or T-Tar. I'm mixing up my Pokemon names. Then the Salamence comes in, DD's on the HP Flying, and then it should be able to win from there. Wow, that was a puzzle right there, but I think that was the play if the calcs work out. I don't know if they work out. Maybe I'll run them in between games and I'll just discuss it at the beginning. I probably won't do that. That's a lot of work. But if that was UD's best out, I think, given the circumstances. So if it didn't work out, then he really didn't have a shot. If it did, then I think that was the way to go. But either way, a really tight game one, and probably one of the more interesting full-on offense v offense games I've seen in a while. There was a lot of kind of interplay going in between the turns that made this a really interesting game with a lot of nuance. And I think at the end there were so many different options that each player could have went with, and I think it's hard to kind of nail down the exact line that each player should have went for. I think UD had the advantage a little bit. I think maybe he had a better line he could have taken, and I think Mana played to his good lines and was just able to clean up at the end. So well played by Mana to bring this one home, and just a really interesting game to watch, and probably one of my favorite that I've narrated in a while. So hopefully we can follow up game 2 with something just as interesting, just as fun, and with just as much intricacy. So I'll see you in game 2. I'm excited.